The grand chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Velthar stepped onto the speaking platform. His three eyes scanned the assembled representatives from 200 different worlds. Each species sat in their designated sections, some breathing oxygen, others methane, all separated by shimmering force fields that kept their atmospheres contained. The Zelnari ambassador was old, even by his species' standards. He had seen empires rise and fall across his 400 years of life. Today, he brought news that frightened him more than anything he had witnessed in his long career. Honored members of the council, Velthar began, his voice translated instantly into 200 languages. We have completed our observation of the species from the planet they call Earth. The species calls themselves humans. What we have discovered demands immediate action. A holographic display materialized above the platform. It showed a blue and green planet, beautiful and inviting. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several representatives leaned forward with interest. New species meant new trade opportunities, new resources, new territories to explore. At first glance, Velthar continued, Earth appears unremarkable. But do not be deceived. We have spent 10 years observing this species from orbit. What we found disturbs us deeply. The hologram shifted, showing images of Earth's surface. Vast oceans crashed against rocky shores. Mountains pierced the sky. Dense forests covered entire continents. The display highlighted various statistics that made several representatives gasp. Earth is what we classify as a death world, Velthar explained. The gravity is 1.3 times our galactic standard. The atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, which would be toxic to many of us. The planet experiences violent weather patterns including cyclones, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. Predatory life evolved in every ecosystem. This world should have produced cautious, defensive species. Instead, it produced humans. The hologram changed again, showing humans in various activities. Walking upright on two legs, using tools, building cities. The images seemed ordinary enough. Humans are persistence predators, Velthar said, and his voice carried a note of warning. Do you understand what this means? They do not have the speed of a pounce predator. They do not have the strength of an ambush predator. Instead, they chase their prey for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapses from exhaustion. Their psychology is built around one concept: never give up. War Master Kreltok of the Cretharian Empire laughed from his section. The sound was harsh and mocking. His species stood over 3 meters tall. With thick armor plating and 4 powerful arms, they had conquered 17 systems through military force. You waste our time with primitive hunters, Kreltok growled. My people have enslaved hundreds of species. What makes these humans special? Velthar's eyes focused on the Cretharian. I am trying to save your people from making a terrible mistake. Please let me continue. The hologram showed human history, battles and wars spanning thousands of years, weapons growing more sophisticated with each generation, cities burning, armies clashing. The violence was constant and brutal. Humans have been at war with themselves for their entire recorded history, Velthar said. They have never known true peace. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. They have used these weapons on each other, and yet their population continues to grow. They do not surrender. They do not break. They adapt. More images appeared. Humans climbing the highest mountains on their planet, diving into the deepest oceans, launching themselves into space in primitive rockets, establishing colonies on their moon and nearby planets. They took the apex predators of their world and domesticated them, Velthar continued. Creatures with fangs and claws that could kill them. They turned these predators into companions. They call them pets. They keep them in their homes. They treat them like family members. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. The idea seemed insane to most species. But here is what truly concerns us, Velthar said, and his voice dropped lower. We conducted psychological profiles based on their behavior. Humans possess a trait we have never encountered before. When threatened, when pushed to the edge of survival, they do not choose the logical path. They do not calculate odds. Instead, they become more dangerous. They call it spite. They will harm themselves if it means harming their enemy more. The hologram showed human soldiers in various wars throughout history, fighting in frozen wastelands, battling in scorching deserts, refusing to retreat even when surrounded. The determination in their eyes was visible even across the vastness of space and time. We watched them fight each other, Velthar said. We saw cities bombed to rubble, yet the survivors continued fighting from the ruins. We saw soldiers with fatal wounds still attacking their enemies. We saw civilians take up arms when their military failed. This species does not know how to quit. War Master Kreltok stood up, his massive form towering over his section. This is propaganda designed to prevent competition. The Zelnari want to claim this world for themselves. These humans are isolated on one small planet. They have barely reached their own moon. They pose no threat to anyone. Other representatives began voicing their opinions. Some agreed with Velthar. Others sided with Kreltok. The chamber filled with arguments and debates. Velthar raised his hands for silence. I have presented the facts. Now I ask the council to vote on my proposal. We must quarantine the human homeworld. We must not make contact until we better understand them. And above all, we must not provoke them. We must not enslave them. We must not give them a reason to come into the galaxy with violence. I call for a vote, announced the council speaker, a floating jellyfish-like creature from the water world of Aquas Prime. The voting began. Holographic displays showed each representative's choice. Green for agreement with the quarantine. Red for rejection. The colors appeared one by one across the massive chamber. The final count appeared. 163 votes for quarantine. 37 votes against. The motion passes, the speaker announced. Earth will be marked as a restricted world. No contact is permitted without council approval. Velthar felt relief wash over him. At least they had listened. At least humanity would be left alone. Then War Master Kreltok spoke again. The Cretharian Empire recognizes the council's decision. However, we invoke our sovereign right to act independently within our claimed territories. The Sol system falls within the boundaries we have historically claimed. We will proceed with harvesting operations. Shocked silence filled the chamber. Several representatives began shouting objections. The Cretharians were technically within their rights, but this violated the spirit of the quarantine. Velthar felt his 3 hearts sink. War Master, please reconsider. You are making a grave error. The humans will not submit like the others. They will fight you, and they will not stop fighting until one of you is extinct. Kreltok turned his massive head toward the Zelnari ambassador. Your fear is noted and dismissed. The Cretharian Empire has conquered species far more advanced than these primitive apes. We have enslaved warriors, hive minds, and telepathic collectives. We will add humans to our collection. Their death world physiology will make them valuable labor assets. Then I formally request, Velthar said desperately, that this conversation be recorded in full. Let the record show that the council warned the Cretharian Empire. Let it show that we tried to prevent this catastrophe. Your warning is recorded, the speaker said. Let it also show that the Cretharians proceeded against our recommendation. Kreltok smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 3 harvest fleets will depart for Earth within the week. We will return with a new slave species and valuable resources from their mineral-rich system. The council will see that their fears were groundless. The Cretharian delegation departed the chamber, their heavy footsteps echoing off the walls. Other representatives began filing out as well, some still arguing about the decision. Velthar remained on the platform, staring at the holographic image of Earth still floating above him. He thought of the humans down there, going about their lives unaware that their entire existence was about to change. Unaware that 3 massive fleets were preparing to descend on their world with overwhelming force. A fellow Zelnari approached him. You did everything you could, old friend. Perhaps the Cretharians are right. Perhaps humans will submit like the others. Velthar shook his head slowly. No, I have studied them for 10 years. I have watched their history. I have analyzed their psychology. Humans do not submit. They do not break. And when you threaten their homeworld, when you threaten their families, they become something the galaxy has never seen before. What is that? Velthar looked at his colleague with his 3 ancient eyes. Unstoppable. The hologram of Earth continued to spin slowly, beautiful and peaceful. For now. But Velthar knew that peace was about to end. The Cretharians were about to learn a lesson that would cost them dearly. They were about to discover why the Council feared humanity. They were about to wake up a sleeping predator. The 3 Cretharian harvest fleets emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 300 massive ships materialized in the darkness of space, their hulls bristling with weapons that had conquered countless worlds. War Master Kreltok stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Fang, and gazed at the small blue planet in the distance. Begin scanning operations, he commanded. I want full tactical analysis of their defensive capabilities. The scanning officers worked quickly, their clawed hands moving across holographic controls. After several minutes, the lead officer reported. War Master, their defensive systems are primitive. They have basic satellites, some chemical rockets, and nuclear weapons of low yield. No energy shields. No plasma cannons. No FTL capability. This will be the easiest harvest in recent memory. Kreltok smiled. This would prove the Council wrong. These humans would submit within days, perhaps hours. Then he would return to the Council chambers with his new slaves and show those cowards what the Cretharian Empire was capable of. Take us into orbit, he ordered. Prepare the submission broadcast. The fleet moved forward, massive dreadnoughts leading the way. Behind them came troop carriers filled with soldiers and processing ships designed to hold slaves. It was the same formation they had used on dozens of worlds. It always worked. As the ships entered Earth's orbit, the humans finally noticed them. Telescopes tracked their approach. Radio signals filled the airwaves. Kreltok could imagine the panic down below. The fear, the chaos. It always happened this way. Broadcast our message, he commanded. The transmission went out in multiple Earth languages translated from captured human broadcasts. The quality was poor, the grammar broken, but the message was clear. Surrender immediately or face destruction. Submit to Cretharian rule. Resistance would be punished with orbital bombardment. Kreltok waited for the response. Usually new species needed time to argue among themselves. Their governments would debate. Their leaders would panic. Some would want to fight. Others would beg for mercy. Eventually they all surrendered, but the human response came within 1 hour. It was not surrender. It was a single word repeated in dozens of languages. No. Kreltok felt surprise. Send another message. Tell them we will demonstrate our power if they do not comply. The second message was sent. This time the human response included more words. The transmission came from multiple locations across the planet, unified in their defiance. We will never submit. You want Earth? Come and take it. War Master Kreltok's surprise turned to anger. These primitives dared to challenge him. Fine. They would learn through pain what mercy they had refused. Target their military installations, he ordered. 20 sites. Destroy them from orbit. Energy beams lanced down from the Cretharian ships. 20 locations across Earth vanished in blinding explosions. Military bases, naval yards, command centers. The destruction was meant to terrify the humans into submission. Instead, what happened next shocked every Cretharian on the fleet. Within minutes, every human nation on Earth set aside their differences. Countries that had been enemies for decades suddenly united. Governments that disagreed on everything agreed on one thing: the aliens had to be stopped. Resources were shared. Military forces coordinated. Intelligence was pooled. The humans moved with a speed and unity that should have been impossible. War Master, the scanning officer said nervously, the humans are mobilizing their entire planet. All of them. Every nation. It happened in minutes. Kreltok dismissed the concern. They are panicking. It does not matter how many primitives they gather. Our technology is superior. Deploy the ground forces, he commanded. Capture 10,000 humans for processing. Choose a populated area to demonstrate our strength. The first wave of Cretharian troops descended on Southeast Asia. 5,000 soldiers in powered armor, equipped with plasma weapons and energy shields. They landed in a region dense with human population, expecting to round up terrified civilians. Instead, they walked into hell. The humans had prepared ambushes. They had no energy weapons, but they understood warfare in ways the Cretharians did not. Roads exploded beneath Cretharian vehicles. Buildings collapsed on marching columns. Snipers with primitive chemical weapons targeted officers. Small drones packed with explosives flew into troop formations. The humans fought with tactics that violated every civilized rule of warfare. They used their own civilians as cover. They placed weapons in hospitals and schools. They fought from urban areas where the Cretharians could not use heavy weapons without massive destruction. Worse, the humans did not retreat when surrounded. They fought to the death, taking as many Cretharians with them as possible. Soldiers with fatal wounds still fired their weapons. Civilians attacked armored troops with makeshift weapons. The ferocity was incomprehensible. We are taking heavy casualties, the ground commander reported. The humans are using chemical weapons. They are using biological agents. They are breaking every rule of civilized warfare. Kreltok realized his mistake too late. Humans had never agreed to galactic warfare conventions. They had never signed treaties limiting weapon types. They would use anything, everything to defend their home. Send reinforcements, he ordered. Double the ground forces. More troops poured down to Earth's surface. More casualties mounted. The Cretharians were winning in terms of territory, but they were paying a price far higher than expected. For every human killed, 3 more seemed to appear. For every position taken, 10 more ambushes waited ahead. The Cretharians managed to capture several thousand humans. They loaded them onto processing ships, expecting to break their spirits through standard conditioning. Humans had resisted initially, but the conditioning always worked. Except it did not work on humans. The captured humans resisted the conditioning. They found ways to sabotage their restraints. They attacked guards with improvised weapons made from parts of their cells. Some pretended to be broken, then attacked when their captors came close. Others simply refused to cooperate, no matter how much punishment they received. One human even managed to tear apart his own restraints, killed 3 guards with his bare hands, then detonated the ship's power core. 500 Cretharians died along with all the human captives on board. The human had killed himself and everyone around him, rather than allow his fellow humans to be enslaved. This was the spite Ambassador Velthar had warned about. The suicidal determination that overrode any sense of self-preservation. Kreltok received the reports with growing horror. In 1 month, the Cretharians had lost 40% of their ground forces. 40%. Conquests usually took years before they sustained such losses, and only against advanced civilizations. The humans were primitive. They should have been easy prey. Instead, they were bleeding the Cretharian military dry. We need to change tactics, one of Kreltok's advisors suggested. We should negotiate. Perhaps offer them a place in the Empire instead of slavery. Absolutely not, Kreltok snarled. We do not negotiate with primitives. We will break them through force. Prepare for full planetary subjugation protocols. The advisor hesitated. Warmaster, that means total war. It means treating the entire planet as a military target. Civilian casualties will be in the millions. So be it, Kreltok said coldly. If the humans will not submit, we will crush them completely. The order went out to the fleet. No more restraint, no more careful targeting. The Cretharians would bomb human cities from orbit. They would destroy infrastructure. They would make Earth uninhabitable if necessary. But before the bombardment could begin, something unexpected happened. A human broadcast reached the Cretharian fleet. It was transmitted on all frequencies, impossible to ignore. The message was simple, delivered in perfect Cretharian language. You came to our world seeking slaves. You attacked our cities. You killed our people. You wanted war. Now you will get what you asked for. We have studied your ships. We have analyzed your technology. We have learned your weaknesses. This is your only warning. Leave our system now, or we will destroy you completely. We will hunt you back to your homeworld. We will end your empire. This is not a threat. This is a promise. You wanted to see what humans are capable of? You're about to find out. We do not start fights, but we always finish them. Kreltok laughed at the message, but the laugh sounded hollow even to his own ears. Empty threats from a dying species. They have no FTL ships. They have no energy weapons. They cannot hurt us. His scanning officer looked up from his console, his face pale. Warmaster, we are detecting new contacts. Human vessels. Small craft. They are approaching the fleet at high speed. Impossible, Kreltok said. They have no FTL capability. These are not FTL ships, the officer said, his voice shaking. They are moving at sublight speeds. Chemical rockets. But Warmaster, they are not slowing down. Understanding dawned on Kreltok. The humans were not attacking with weapons. They were attacking with kinetic impact, turning their own ships into missiles. Another example of that insane spite-driven determination. Destroy them, he ordered. The fleet's defensive weapons opened fire. Most of the human craft were destroyed before impact, but several got through. They slammed into Cretharian ships at tremendous velocity. The impacts punched through shields and armor. 1 year after first contact, the war had spread beyond anyone's predictions. The Galactic Council watched from their distant chambers as 2 species that should have been vastly mismatched tore each other apart. What had begun as a simple harvest operation had become the bloodiest conflict in recent galactic history. Ambassador Velthar stood before the council once again, but this time he brought no warnings. This time, he brought evidence of horrors that made even the most warlike species uncomfortable. "The situation has spiraled out of control," Velthar said, his three eyes showing deep sadness. "Both sides have now committed acts that violate our most sacred laws of warfare." The holographic display showed images from Earth. Cities lay in ruins from orbital bombardment. Millions of humans had died, but Earth still fought. In fact, the humans had grown stronger. "The Critharians severely underestimated human adaptability," Velthar continued. "When the war began, humans had barely reached their own moon. Now 1 year later they have reverse-engineered Critharian FTL technology." Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. Developing FTL travel took most species centuries of research. The humans had done it in months by studying captured and destroyed Critharian vessels. "Human ships are now appearing in Critharian space," Velthar said. "Small strike forces, fast attack craft. They are hitting supply lines, mining operations, and civilian infrastructure." A council member from the peaceful Delphinian collective raised a tentacle in objection. "Surely the humans are targeting military assets only. That is the civilized way." Velthar shook his head. "The humans never agreed to our warfare conventions. They follow their own doctrine. If you threaten their homeworld, everything you possess becomes a valid target. Military bases, supply depots, civilian settlements, trade routes, everything." The hologram showed a Critharian mining colony. The facility was destroyed, but there were no signs of weapons fire. No blast marks, no evidence of conventional attack. "This colony housed 40,000 Critharians," Velthar said quietly. "Men, women, and children. A human stealth ship entered the system undetected. They did not attack with weapons. Instead, they released a biological agent into the colony's air recycling system." The image zoomed in on Critharian bodies lying peacefully, as if asleep. No violence, no destruction, just death. "The agent was specifically engineered to target Critharian biology," Velthar continued. "It was painless and quick. Everyone died within hours. The humans left a message at the scene. A holographic text appeared written in Critharian. 'You took our people. We studied you. Now we can end you. Leave our system or every colony falls silent.' The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted arguments. Some called for intervention. Others demanded that humanity be punished for such barbaric warfare. A few quietly noted that the Critharians had started this war. War Master Kreltok's voice boomed across the chamber. He appeared as a hologram, broadcasting from his flagship. His appearance had changed over the past year. His armor was scarred. His eyes showed exhaustion. The confident warrior who had dismissed the council's warnings now looked haunted. "The council must act," Kreltok demanded. "These humans are animals. They fight without honor. They use banned weapons. They attack civilians. They must be stopped." Velthar turned to face the Critharian. "You started this war against our explicit warnings. You attacked their homeworld. You attempted to enslave them. You bombed their cities. Now you complain that they fight back too effectively? We fight with honor," Kreltok growled. "We follow the warrior's code. These humans have no code. They will use any weapon, any tactic, no matter how dishonorable. Honor," Velthar said softly, "is a luxury of species who have never faced extinction. Humans are fighting for their survival. They will use whatever works." The hologram changed again, showing human military installations. Massive shipyards had been constructed in orbit around Earth and Mars. Factories worked around the clock, producing weapons and ships at an incredible pace. "Human industrial capacity is staggering," Velthar explained. "Their entire civilization has been converted to war production. Every resource, every factory, every person. They are building a war machine the likes of which we have rarely seen." More images appeared. Human ships that combined their technology with captured Critharian systems. Hybrid designs that shouldn't work but somehow did. Weapons that mixed human creativity with alien power sources. "They are innovating faster than we can track," Velthar said. "Each month brings new designs, new tactics, new horrors." A Critharian military officer appeared alongside Kreltok's hologram. "The humans have deployed artificial intelligence warfare systems. This violates the machine war treaties signed by every civilized species." The council erupted again. AI warfare had been banned for 10,000 years after the catastrophic machine wars nearly destroyed the galaxy. The laws against it were absolute. Humanity never signed those treaties, Velthar pointed out. They were not part of our civilization when we made those rules. To them, it is simply another tool. Then make them sign, Kreltok demanded. Enforce the law. How? Velthar asked. By attacking them. By invading Earth? You tried that. Look where it got you. The truth hung in the air like poison. The Cretharian Empire was losing. Slowly, painfully, but undeniably losing. Their military was being bled dry. Their colonies were vulnerable. Their economy was straining under the war effort. A new hologram appeared showing Cretharian space. Red markers indicated attacked colonies. Yellow markers showed disrupted supply lines. The markers spread like a disease across the map. Human raiders are operating deep in Cretharian territory, Velthar said. They strike quickly and disappear. They do not hold territory. They simply destroy and move on. The Cretharians cannot defend everything at once. Kreltok's image flickered with anger, because they fight like cowards. Like insects. They do not face us in honorable battle. They are fighting to win, Velthar corrected. Honor does not matter to a species facing extinction. Victory matters. Survival matters. The council speaker, the floating jellyfish creature, pulsed with bioluminescence to get attention. The council offers mediation. Both sides must agree to ceasefire negotiations. No, Kreltok said immediately. The Cretharian Empire does not negotiate with primitives. We will break them. From Earth, the human response came just as quickly. Ambassador Sarah Chen, Earth's first representative to any alien species, appeared as a hologram. She was young by human standards, but her eyes showed the weight of a world at war. The United Earth government refuses any negotiation while our people remain in Cretharian captivity, she said coldly. Return every human you have taken. Withdraw from our system. Then we will talk. Until then, we will continue to make you pay for every day you remain. The two holograms, Cretharian and human, stared at each other across the council chamber. Neither would yield. Both were locked in a death spiral of escalating violence. Velthar tried once more. This war will destroy you both. The Cretharians are losing resources and colonies. The humans have lost over 1 billion lives. How many more must die before you accept peace? Ambassador Chen's response chilled everyone in the chamber. All of them if necessary. You do not understand us yet, Ambassador. We are a species that survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and nuclear weapons. We almost destroyed ourselves dozens of times and came back stronger each time. We do not surrender. We do not quit. We either win or we die. There is no middle ground, Kreltok laughed bitterly. Then you will die. The Empire will commit every resource to crushing you. We welcome the attempt, Chen replied. Every ship you send to Earth is a ship that cannot defend your colonies. Every soldier you throw at us is one less protecting your homeworld. You wanted to harvest us like cattle. Instead, you created an enemy that will haunt you for generations. The council session dissolved into arguments. Some species called for military intervention to stop the war. Others refused to get involved. A few quietly began placing bets on which side would collapse first. Velthar remained on the platform long after the others had left. He watched the holographic displays showing the spreading war. Human ships raiding Cretharian space. Cretharian fleets bombarding Earth. Both sides locked in mutual destruction. A younger Zelnari approached him. Master, surely one side will see reason soon. This cannot continue. Velthar looked at his student with tired eyes. You still do not understand. Neither side can stop now. The Cretharians cannot admit defeat to primitives without destroying their empire's credibility. Every subject species would rebel. And the humans? They are fighting for survival. They will never stop until every threat to Earth is eliminated. Then what happens? One side breaks completely, Velthar said. One civilization ends. There is no other outcome now. The hologram showed Earth scarred and burning but still fighting. It showed Cretharian space, vast and powerful but bleeding from 1,000 wounds. Two species locked in a war neither could afford to lose. In human military headquarters deep below Earth's surface, strategists planned their next moves. They had mapped every Cretharian colony, identified every weakness, studied every aspect of their enemy's biology, technology, and psychology. Humans were persistence predators. They did not give up, and now they had learned to hunt among the stars. 3 years into the war, the Cretharian Empire stood on the edge of collapse. What had begun as a confident harvest operation had become an existential nightmare. War Master Kreltalk stood in his command center aboard the dominant Fang and looked at maps that told a story of systematic destruction. 40% of Cretharian colonies had been raided or destroyed. Supply lines were constantly disrupted. Subject species that had been enslaved for generations were now rebelling, inspired by humanity's fierce resistance. The Empire's economy was in shambles. Military recruitment could not keep pace with casualties, and still, Earth fought on. Kreltalk had lost weight. His armor hung loose on his frame. He had not slept properly in months. Every day brought new reports of human attacks, human innovations, human victories. The species he had dismissed as primitive had become his civilization's greatest nightmare. War Master, his chief advisor said carefully, "We must consider withdrawal. The Council offers mediation again." "No," Kreltalk said, but his voice lacked its former conviction. "We cannot show weakness. If we retreat from humans, every enslaved species will see it. The Empire will fall apart. The Empire is already falling apart," the advisor said bluntly. "We have lost 17 colonies to rebellion. Our fleet is at half strength. We cannot sustain this war much longer." Kreltalk knew the advisor was right, but he also knew that stopping now meant admitting terrible, unforgivable failure. He had ignored the Council's warnings. He had started a war that might destroy his entire civilization. History would remember him as the War Master who doomed the Cretharian Empire, unless he could turn the tide with one final, desperate gamble. "Summon all remaining fleet commanders," Kreltalk ordered. "Every ship, every soldier. We will launch one final assault on Earth itself. We will commit everything we have. Either we break them or we fall." The advisor stared at him in shock. "War Master, that is suicide. The humans have been fortifying their home system for 3 years. Their defenses are formidable, which is why we must attack with overwhelming force," Kreltalk said. 2,000 ships. Every vessel we can gather. We will shatter their defenses and bombard their planet until they have no choice but to surrender. And if we fail, then the Empire ends," Kreltalk said quietly. "But at least we will end fighting rather than whimpering for peace." The order went out across Cretharian space. Every available warship received the same command: proceed to Earth. This was the final battle. Everything would be decided here. It took 2 months to gather the armada. Ships came from every corner of the Empire, leaving colonies defended only by skeleton forces. It was the largest fleet the Cretharians had ever assembled. Nearly 2,000 vessels of every class: dreadnoughts, battleships, carriers, destroyers, support craft. The entire might of a galactic empire focused on one small blue planet. Aboard his flagship, Kreltalk addressed his commanders via hologram. "We go to Earth to finish what we started. We will show the galaxy that the Cretharian Empire does not break. We will show these humans that defiance has a price. Victory or death. There is no other option." The armada entered FTL travel heading for the Sol system. It would take 3 days to reach Earth. 3 days to prepare for the largest battle in Cretharian history. On Earth, detection systems picked up the massive fleet approaching. Alarms sounded across the planet. After 3 years of war, humans knew what was coming. The Cretharians were making their final move. Admiral Marcus Torres stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense network. He was thin and scarred, marked by 3 years of brutal warfare. Around him, holographic displays showed the approaching Cretharian armada, 2,000 ships against humanity's few hundred. "They are committing everything," his tactical officer said. "If we defeat this fleet, the Cretharians will have nothing left." "Then we had better defeat them," Torres replied. "Signal all ships. Signal Mars colonies. Signal every station. This is what we have been preparing for. The Cretharians think they can overwhelm us with numbers. Let's show them what humans do when our backs are against the wall." Earth had not been idle during 3 years of war. The orbital shipyards had worked without pause, building a fleet that combined human design philosophy with captured alien technology. The ships were smaller than Cretharian vessels but faster and more maneuverable. They were armed with weapons that should not work but did, because human engineers refused to accept limitations. More importantly, Earth's defense network had been transformed into a fortress. Thousands of weapons platforms orbited the planet. Minefields had been placed throughout the system. Kill zones had been prepared at likely approach vectors, and hidden among the asteroids were weapons the Cretharians had never seen before. The Cretharian armada emerged from FTL at the edge of Earth's solar system. Kreltok looked at his displays and saw the human fleet arrayed before him, a few hundred ships against his 2,000. The humans were outnumbered 4-1. Forward, Kreltok commanded. Maintain formation. Destroy anything that moves. The two fleets began closing the distance. Human ships accelerated toward the Cretharian force, seemingly rushing to their own destruction. But as they moved, they deployed thousands of small objects into space. The Cretharians dismissed them as debris or sensor decoys. They were nuclear mines. The first wave of Cretharian ships hit the minefield at full speed. Dozens of nuclear explosions blossomed in the darkness of space. Shields flickered and failed. Hull plating vaporized. Entire ships vanished in the blasts. The perfect Cretharian formation dissolved into chaos. Continue forward, Kreltok ordered, his teeth clenched. They cannot have many such weapons. But the humans had prepared for 3 years. The mines kept detonating. The Cretharian fleet pushed through, losing ships with every kilometer they advanced. Behind the minefields came human missile swarms, thousands of weapons launched from platforms throughout the system. The missiles were primitive by galactic standards, but there were so many of them that Cretharian point defense systems were overwhelmed. More ships died. The Armada's perfect formation was now scattered and broken, but they were through the worst of it. The human fleet was directly ahead. Now it would come down to ship-to-ship combat. The two fleets collided in a fury of weapons fire and explosions. Cretharian plasma beams slashed through space, destroying human ships. But the humans fought with tactics that the Cretharians had never encountered. Human ships worked in packs, coordinating their fire to overwhelm individual Cretharian vessels. They targeted engines first, crippling ships rather than destroying them, creating debris fields that blocked Cretharian movement. And when human ships were damaged beyond repair, their crews did something that horrified the Cretharians. They accelerated toward enemy vessels and detonated their own reactors, turning themselves into massive kinetic weapons. The suicide attacks took out dozens of Cretharian capital ships. Kreltok watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by an enemy that refused to fight according to civilized rules. All ships push through to Earth. Ignore the human fleet. Focus on reaching bombardment range of their planet. The Cretharians tried to follow his orders, but the humans had prepared for this too. Hidden among the asteroids were railgun platforms that fired solid projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The projectiles had no guidance systems, no explosives. They were simply chunks of metal moving at incredible velocity. When they hit Cretharian shields, they punched through and kept going, tearing massive holes in ship hulls. The battle raged for hours. Ships died on both sides, space filled with debris and radiation. But slowly, inexorably, the tide turned against the Cretharians. They had numbers, but the humans had turned their entire home system into a weapon. Kreltok's flagship shuddered as human missiles impacted its shields. "Status report," he demanded. "We have lost over half the fleet," his tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. "The humans are using tactics we cannot counter. They sacrifice themselves to harm us. They use weapons that should not work. They refuse to follow any logical pattern. How many ships remain?" 800, War Master, and we have not yet reached bombardment range of Earth." Kreltok felt the weight of his failure crushing down on him. He had brought 2,000 ships to break humanity. Instead, humanity was breaking his fleet. "All ships," he commanded, "concentrate fire on the human flagship. If we kill their leadership, they may break." The Cretharian fleet turned its weapons on the human command ship. Dozens of plasma beams converged on the vessel. Its shields held for a moment, then collapsed. The ship began breaking apart, but even as it died, Admiral Torres broadcast his final message to the human fleet. "Do not stop. Do not falter. Make them pay for every meter they advance. For Earth!" The human fleet surged forward with renewed fury. Human ships rammed Cretharian vessels. Damaged craft detonated themselves in the middle of enemy formations. The fighting became close and brutal, ships grappling with each other, weapons firing at point-blank range. Kreltok saw his Grand Armada being destroyed by sheer human determination. They were outnumbered but fought as if they were invincible. They took casualties that would have broken any other species and simply kept coming. This was what Ambassador Velthar had warned about. This persistence, this refusal to quit. 5 years after first contact, the Galactic Council chambers looked much the same as they always had. 200 species gathered in their designated sections, separated by force fields that maintained their various atmospheric needs. But everything else had changed. The galaxy itself had changed. At the center of the speaking platform stood Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth. She was the first human to formally address the Council, and her presence represented a shift in galactic power that no one could have predicted 5 years ago. She wore a simple uniform of the United Earth government, dark blue with silver insignia. No weapons, no armor. She did not need them. Around the chamber, representatives watched her with a mixture of respect, fear, and curiosity. Humanity had earned its place here through blood and fire. They had fought the Cretharian Empire to a standstill and forced one of the galaxy's major powers to its knees. Some species admired this strength. Others worried about what humanity might do next. Ambassador Velthar stood in the Zelnari section, his 3 ancient eyes watching Sarah Chen with complex emotions. Relief that the war had ended, sadness for all the lives lost, and a deep concern about what humanity's emergence meant for galactic civilization. The council speaker, the floating jellyfish creature, pulsed with bioluminescence. The council recognizes Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth. Humanity has been granted full membership with a permanent seat on the council. This is the first time a species has achieved this status within a decade of first contact. Ambassador Chen, you may speak. Sarah stepped forward to the holographic display. Her image was projected throughout the chamber so every species could see her clearly. She looked young to most aliens, barely 40 years old by human standards, but her eyes carried the weight of a civilization that had nearly died. Honored members of the council, Sarah began, her voice clear and steady. Humanity thanks you for this recognition. We come to this chamber not as conquerors, but as survivors. 5 years ago, we were attacked by the Cretharian Empire. We defended ourselves. We did what we had to do to ensure our species' survival. She paused, letting her words settle. Some council members shifted uncomfortably. The war had been brutal. Both sides had committed acts that violated galactic norms. But humanity had won, and victors wrote the rules. We learned many things during this war, Sarah continued. We learned that the galaxy is not a safe place. We learned that other species see us as primitives or resources to be harvested. We learned that peaceful intentions are not enough. Strength is required. The ability to defend oneself is essential. Her expression hardened slightly. We also learned that when we are pushed, when our survival is threatened, we do not break. We adapt. We fight, we win. This is not a threat to the Council. This is simply a statement of fact. We came in peace. We were met with war. We will never forget this lesson. In the Cretharian section, the few remaining representatives sat in silence. War Master Kreltalk was not among them. He had been removed from power and exiled. The Cretharian Empire was a shadow of its former self, reduced to a handful of core worlds under strict council supervision. Their military had been dismantled. Their subject species had been freed. Some of those freed species now looked to humanity with gratitude and hope. Sarah gestured, and the holographic display showed images of Earth. The planet still bore scars from the war. Whole cities remained in ruins. The orbital bombardment had killed over 1 billion people, but humanity had rebuilt with the same determination they had shown in fighting. New cities rose from the ashes. New orbital stations replaced those destroyed. The shipyards continued working, now building vessels for exploration and trade as well as defense. Earth has paid a terrible price for our survival, Sarah said quietly. We lost 1 billion lives. We lost cities, infrastructure, irreplaceable cultural heritage. But we survived, and now we look to the future. The display changed to show human colonies spreading through nearby systems. In 5 years, humanity had established settlements in 6 systems. Human ships explored the local region of space with careful but determined expansion. Human traders had begun making contact with other species, offering goods and services. We know that some council members are concerned about human expansion, Sarah acknowledged. You worry about our military capabilities. You worry about our willingness to use weapons that other species consider barbaric. These concerns are understandable. She looked directly at various species around the chamber. But I want to be clear. Humanity does not seek conflict. We do not want to conquer the galaxy. We simply want to be left alone to live our lives in peace. But we will never again be vulnerable. We will never again be weak enough that someone thinks they can attack us without consequences. Ambassador Velthar took this moment to speak, activating his section's communication system. Ambassador Chen, the Council appreciates humanity's position, but many species worry about your rapid militarization. Your fleet has grown significantly. Your weapons technology advances faster than we can track. How can we be assured that humanity will not become the next aggressive empire? Sarah turned to face the Zelnari ambassador. Ambassador Velthar, you were the one who warned the Council about us. You studied us for 10 years. You tried to protect the galaxy from what we might become. Tell me, in all your observations, did you ever see humanity start a war unprovoked? Velthar was silent for a moment. No, he admitted. Humans fight each other frequently, but you rarely initiate conflicts without cause. You are reactive rather than proactive in your aggression. Exactly, Sarah said. We do not start fights, but we finish them. This is what we are. We react to threats with overwhelming force. We do not forgive those who harm us, but we do not seek out enemies either. She gestured at the display again, showing human medical teams working on former Cretharian slave species, showing human engineers helping to rebuild colonies that had been damaged in the war, showing trade agreements and cultural exchanges beginning between humanity and dozens of species. We can be your allies, Sarah said. We can contribute to galactic civilization. Our scientists can share discoveries. Our engineers can solve problems. Our soldiers can defend against threats. But we will do this on our terms. We will not be enslaved. We will not be conquered. We will not be pushed around. A representative from the Delphinian collective, a peaceful species that had never engaged in warfare, spoke up. But Ambassador Chen, your species used biological weapons against Cretharian civilians. You violated laws that have stood for thousands of years. How can we trust you to follow any galactic rules? Sarah's expression did not change. We used those weapons because the Cretharians were bombing our cities from orbit. They were killing our civilians by the millions. We studied their biology and created weapons that would force them to stop. Were those weapons horrible? Yes. Would we use them again if necessary? Yes, but would we use them against a species that had not attacked us first? No. That is not reassuring, the Delphinian said. It is not meant to be reassuring, Sarah replied bluntly. It is meant to be honest. Humanity will follow galactic law when it suits us. We will cooperate with the Council when our interests align. But we will never ever put galactic approval ahead of our own survival. If that makes us dangerous, then yes, we are dangerous. But we are only dangerous to those who threaten us. The chamber filled with murmurs and debates. Some species appreciated humanity's honesty. Others were deeply concerned. But everyone understood that humanity could not be ignored or dismissed. They were now a major power, whether the galaxy liked it or not. The Council speaker pulsed for silence. The Council acknowledges humanity's position. We welcome Earth as a full member. We hope that humanity will prove to be a constructive force for galactic civilization. We will do our best, Sarah said, but understand that our first priority will always be the safety and security of Earth and human colonies. Everything else is secondary. After the formal session ended, Sarah met privately with Ambassador Velthar in one of the chamber's diplomatic meeting rooms. The Zelnari looked even older than he had 5 years ago. The war had weighed heavily on him. You tried to warn them, Sarah said quietly. You studied us. You knew what would happen. Velthar's 3 eyes blinked slowly. I knew humans were dangerous. I did not know you would be this dangerous. In 5 years, you have gone from a single planet species to a major galactic power. Your technological advancement is staggering. Your military capability is frightening. Your determination is... He paused, searching for the right word. Unsettling. We did what we had to do, Sarah said. That is what concerns me, Velthar replied. Humans always do what you have to do. You do not let conventions or laws or ethics stop you when your survival is at stake. This makes you unpredictable, dangerous, Sarah nodded. You are right to be concerned. But let me tell you something about humanity. We are not conquerors by nature. We fight each other, yes. We have wars and conflicts. But we also cooperate. We build alliances. We create art and music and literature. We explore and discover and learn. We can be the galaxy's greatest friend or worst enemy. The choice belongs to those who interact with us. What if another species makes the same mistake the Cretharians did? Velthar asked. What if someone else attacks you?